Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to this NXT review and opinions video. I think this show was a bit underwhelming, and certainly when you go down what was on the show. You know, Bayley being on the show, I just expected Roxanne to come out, but we did get Giulia. That has now set up a very interesting tag match, but this by far was the best segment on the show. I didn't really feel like any of the titles or championships were going to change hands. I thought the main event was actually a bit underwhelming. Perhaps that's because Oba has only just become champion, so seeing him defend against Eddy Thorpe didn't really feel like that title was going to change hands. As well as that, they didn't really mention the match a great deal. So, like, by the time we got to it towards the end of the show, it was just sort of felt like, oh yeah, that's right, we've still got an NXT championship match. I didn't really feel like the hype throughout the show towards an NXT championship, the biggest match you can do in NXT. Didn't really feel that hype. That kind of reinforced the fact that the title wasn't going to change hands. But we did get Bayley. We did get A-Town Down Under. That was a bit confusing. They seem to be shouting and arguing at Oba. Obviously, they're going to be interviewing him next week, so be interesting to see what that leads to. But I don't know, are we going to get Oba against Grayson Waller? Is that going to be something we're building towards? Or are they just hyping next week's show? Because next week's show is a big show. We know we've got Bianca and Naomi against Lash and Jakara. We know as well that we're going to get Fallon Henley against Shotzi. We know that Stephanie's going to be around. There's definitely a lot to get excited about for next week. And I feel like this week, believe it or not, just felt a bit like a go-home show as a result. It just really felt like it was setting up next week. And maybe if we'd had a couple of banging matches, we would be kind of enjoying the show a bit more. There was definitely talking points. Corey Graves came back. We don't know what's happening with Chase U. We don't know what Izzy Dame is doing with Tony D'Angelo. There was definitely talking points, but it was just stuff for the future. It was just really nothing monumental outside of that Bayley segment, yeah? So if we look at the match scores, Ridge and Tony, good 99%. Wes and Dion, good 90%. Charlie and Lexis, Heritage Cup match, good 98%. Jaida against Karman was good 95%. Niko, he looked pretty good. And Brooks, tag team, taking on Luca and Stacks, good 96%. And then our main event, Oba Femi against Eddy Thorpe, NXT Championship match. You lot said was good 100%. So, yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. We move on. I'm very excited for next week. I don't feel like I wasted my time. I wouldn't say it was a bad show. I think there was enough talking points throughout it to ensure it wasn't a bad show. And I think that big Bayley segment definitely helped. But I did find myself at times getting a little bit bored. I did find myself at times just sort of not really feeling like I was really into the show this week. So I'm thinking 5, 7, 5, 6 is the range where I am. 5, 7, 5, 6, which really feels harsh when you think about all the stuff we had. But I've just seen better NXTs than this. And to be honest with you, I would rather not have title matches, but actually have matches that really grab me and really like, you know, I feel really connected with, even if they're not for a title. I think I'd just rather have that than title matches where I just really don't think the title's going to change hands and the matches don't massively grab me. So, yeah, for me, 5, 7, 5, 6, we can be better than this, and I think next week we will be. So, with that being said, let's work our way up. So Robin said it was nice to see Corey back. Yes. Trick's B-slap on Wes left a mark. That was another talking point backstage. That went viral. I love you, Bayley, and her acknowledging was a fun moment. Nice heat for Roxy and Cora. Both women's TT matches next week will cook. I'm going to go off and do some DDP yoga, said Robin. He was in the crowd, wasn't he? Brotherhood Gaming said, honestly, it feels really weird as a person who wants to do commentary for a career. I don't know if I would want to be in that position. I just hope they get wherever this is going on with Corey figured out. Oh, what, you want to go into commentary, do you? I mean, the only thing I can tell you about the Corey situation is the belief is that it is real and that he does have these frustrations. And unfortunately in life, this, and it's not just commentary, but really it's straight across the boards in a lot of kind of the entertainment industry, is that you are at risk of always being replaced by someone more famous. They might not be better, but their fame will attract an audience, will attract a fan base, will attract a big platform. And as a result, you know, you will be replaceable. JR came out and said he's been in that position. It happens. And equally, you know, it's not only Pat, but also if you look at what's happened with Logan, you know, there's a lot of, I think it was Pat as well, actually, but there was quite a few people, the celebrities that have had matches on the cards where, you know, wrestlers backstage have not appreciated it because that could be their spot. You know, think about every time Pat's had a match or Logan's had a match, they are taking a spot away. That could be a match that another wrestler would have been involved in instead, you know. But instead they're not. Instead they're sat in catering, not used, having to watch the show like the fans because the celebrity is getting that opportunity instead. And it's not because the celebrity is a better wrestler. It's because they're a bigger name, they've got a bigger fan base, they'll create more buzz, right? It's the dark side of the industry. It's the dark side of the industry. And Corey Graves, unfortunately, got bit with it. So I think it stung. I think he's gone away, had to think about it, realised I'm just fortunate to be, you know, playing the game. I'm just fortunate enough to be in this position. I don't think he's got anything against NXT. It was never about NXT. But it's one of those, isn't it, where you work hard, you do everything that's asked, you do a good job, the fans love you. I've got a lot of time for Corey. I think he's a great commentator. And yet you still find yourself being moved back to NXT. So, yeah, I wouldn't let that dissuade you, though, you know, because even wrestlers, as we've just said, have to face that kind of situation. Brendan, shout out to you, buds. Homer says, content warning. I don't even understand what that means. Las Vegas, Matt said, so not the best NXT, but we had 3 title defenses, which is more than you can say about Raw or SmackDown. I do think that Fraxium was missed. I'm pretty excited about the hype around Chris Wavelength. Yes. Giulia, Bayley, and Waller and Theory against Ober Trick is going to be fun. Do you think that's where it's going? Ober and Trick as a tag team against Grayson and Austin Theory. I mean, it absolutely could be going that way. We'll have to wait and see next week, won't we? We'll have to wait and see next week. Las Vegas Matt gives it 7 out of 10. Wrestling fan since day one said I couldn't watch NXT because of technical difficulties, but we're gonna act like I did. Wow, what a great show. I can't believe Cody challenged Ober for the title. Jordan Grace debut, my gods. Can't wait for next week. 10 out of 10. Wrestling fan since day one. Thank you. Ryder said, overall decent show. I've seen way better episodes, but they're clearly setting up next week, which should be great. Wes Lee getting completely slapped into another dimension was enough to give it 7.25. El Patata said, overall good show. Stephanie terrifies me. I love the chain wrestling of Lexis and Dempsey. Would love to see more from Zarya. Where is the NXT logo punching Zarya that they were teasing? 6.5. Anyway, I will let you enjoy Turtlia. That's Turtle and Julia. Turtlia. Dean said NXT was not that good tonight. There was no great matches. All the matches were good. I would have liked to have seen some TNA talent show up. Can't wait for next week's NXT. Good stream. See you on the next one. Dean, shout out to you, buds. Briggsy said it was okay. I'm going to give it a 5. Matches were nothing too crazy, but I wasn't bored at any point, so a decent show. Nick said, I won't be able to watch until tomorrow. Muggsy said, glad to see, hello Muggsy, glad to see Corey genuinely looking happy. Oba versus Eddy match of the night. Eddy is really starting to impress me. I just think he needs more work on his promos. Trick looks like he's channeled his inner Stephanie McMahon with that slap. Overall, 6.5. J Omega said this week's NXT wasn't that bad. I enjoyed Oba, Eddy, and Lexis, Charlie, and Tony Ridge. Asking the question, will Izzy replace Rizzo in the family, or is Izzy with Sean but befriends the family only for her to screw Tony out of the title when he faces Spears? Oh, I really like that last one. I like the idea that she is with Sean Spears, and so Sean Spears having a little group kind of feels like he does need a mid-card belt to legitimize him. And, you know, that would be a reason then for people to follow him, because he would have put a plan in place that has then been executed and has succeeded, right? If someone can tell you a plan, execute it, and you see the results, then you can understand why people would be following him. So I really like that idea. So I would go for that one. I would go for she screws Tony out of the title and Sean Spears becomes the new champ. Maybe, you know, a few months' time as we get closer to WrestleMania. Cowboy said it was a decent show. I'm going to say 7. I'm now led to believe that Corey Graves' thing is a work. I don't know how. Bayley's segment was pretty decent. Tony D versus Ridge match was Oba Eddy match was okay, I guess. Have a good night. Cowboy, shout out to you. You'll have to let me know where you've heard this. I mean, I'm under the impression that it was genuine. They've had words and he's agreed to come back. They've agreed to bring him back. I mean, you've got to know conversations been happening behind the scenes. So just because he's back wouldn't say to me it's a work. We've got to get a resolution there. And I really don't think they want to part ways with him. So, I mean, it's really good news that we found a way of him coming back. But I can't say there was anything there that made it seem like a work to me personally. It could be, though. I mean, we just don't know, is the honest answer. I mean, all the dirt sheets are saying that it's legit. Callum said, Daze, I enjoyed tonight's NXT matches. They were decent. I've enjoyed the past few NXTs. I enjoyed Unseen. Hope you enjoyed NXT. Callum, thank you, my friends. Chris said, hello, Daze. Not a bad show. I've seen better. 6.5. I enjoyed all the matches. Actually, all but one. Didn't like not seeing Jaida Uso win. Big fan of Jaida Uso. Crowd was so good during that Bayley, Giulia, Rox and Cora segment. I think NXT next week's like a PLE. 15th, not next week, in ATL. It's a stacked show. Yes, next week we are in Atlanta. And you're right, it is going to be a stacked show. Raymond said, Daze, I thought NXT tonight was good and the matches were all right, and it was really awesome seeing Corey Graves back on the commentary table. He's one of my favourites ever to listen to on NXT, so I would rate NXT tonight 8 out of 10. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, buds. Brady said the Bayley, Roxanne, Cora, Giulia segment was fire. Oba, Eddy was good, but Oba should have destroyed Eddy. I agree with you. I'm excited for NXT next week. I don't mind Eddy having like a few moments because I do think he's a good talent, but I just found large parts of that match to just be forgettable. I just found large parts of that match to just be just happening. I think it would have been more impactful if he'd have been like really chucking him around. And yeah, I agree. Jasmine said, not bad. Too much chaos with backstage. How many times do we have to watch what you would call a Teacup Heritage Cup rematch? I wish it was called the Teacup Heritage Cup. Marvel Nerd said, I'm going to score NXT a shake my head 7 out of 10. Why? Because WWE fans would think that the booking and the creative decisions for Raw, NXT, and SmackDown would be better on the road to WrestleMania 41. But instead, Papa H and HB Shizzle are sleeping. Wake your asses up, says Marvel Nerd. Well, technically, the road to WrestleMania starts with the Rumble. That's what they'd tell you. But I think you can count January, to be honest. I think we should be able to count. And certainly what with Raw on Netflix and all of that kicking off, you know. Manuel said, happy Tatum Tuesday. The Tony match, 5 out of 10, mid. Nothing exciting to keep my attention. Dion match, 6. Not a fan of Wes, but he did really good. Very fast match, though. Lexis match, 5. Another average match. Shame on King with that low blow on purpose. Jaida match, 6. Jaida is always great. Upset she lost like that, though. I really root for her. She's going places. That's right, Jey Uso's house. Tag match, 6 out of 10. D'Angelo family are all great. The Vance guy did amazing. Oba match, 7. Oba is a beast. The matches are always good, and it was best of the night. Overall, 6. Kept my attention the whole show, unlike yesterday's Raw. Lynette says 7 out of 10. Definitely like that there were so many matches today. I'm so happy that Jaida was back and in a match. She should have won. Kalani is getting on my nerves now. Oba versus Eddy was a great match. Eddy did amazing and kept me on the edge of my seat. John Elite said, glad to see Corey back as well, DDP. Love seeing Bayley on NXT tonight. Cool interaction between her and Giulia. Could Izzy be in cahoots with Sean Spears? Yeah. And what a slap by Trick on Wes. I didn't realise that slap was going to be as big a talking point as what it was, but yeah, fun. Right, let's go over and see what the score was. So, let's go. Boom. So here, what did you think about NXT? We've got about 70 odd votes. And yeah, actually, looks like we're kind of in agreement that it's around that kind of good range. So, yeah, a little bit underwhelming. Looks like Raw recovered a bit. Obviously, Genesis doing well. But, yeah, this one at the moment not looking brilliant. Looks like that's going to come out as good. And I agree. I think this was a show that very much set up next week. So there we go. That was NXT. We will be back, of course, on Friday with SmackDown, and we will do a review and opinions video for that show. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.